So did Nancy Drew just pull a flashpoint of some sorts? Whatever. Oh, hey everyone. This is Joe here from ActionX, and welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back if this is your 13th Nancy Drew review. I apologize yet again for another delayed episode of this show. And it's ironically convenient, and it also works out in my favor since I'm not in a rush this time because... First of all, I'll say this again at the end of this episode. Nancy Drew is going on a short break, 2-week break, that's it. And then we'll be back with brand new episodes February 26th. So thankfully this works out, in my favor that I don't have a time crunch to get this out before the next episode. Because there is no next episode next week or the week after that. So that thankfully works out. Like I said, when we came back for the second half portion, is that there will be more mid-sized breaks because there's absolutely no way they're going to squeeze out. I believe it was, I want to say 13 episodes left into the remaining 20 plus week of this television season. There was no way. So this was expected. So, but anyway, I want to apologize still. I missed my time frame again. I have a legitimate reason this time. When I had wrapped seeing the Nancy Drew episode, my best friend for many years, he contacted me because he's not going to be available to... me and him, we usually play video games online. That's our only source of hanging out anymore since we're separated by state. Now we're going to be separated by country. And we wanted to get some gaming time together before he left. My plan wasn't supposed to do it on Wednesday, but he had very limited time, so I said screw it. Because I'm not going to play with him for a long time. That kind of takes more priority. I said this before, personal life sometimes trumps over making these videos. Even though I love making the videos, my friends are also more important to me. And I'm not saying that like a cliche, like, oh, I don't care about the show, I don't care about the videos. I'm not saying that at all. It's just that sometimes things take more of a better priority. And then yesterday, I just did not have time to record at all. I was very busy with work and, other stuff. So first time I'm recording today, hopefully this will be going live the same day. So... hope to God nothing happens. Anyway, so with that being said, let's get down to it now. Once again, we're going to, for a very butchered recap, as many of you know, if I save a long time between seeing the episode to reviewing the episode, I forget a lot of things. So this will be a very much more butchered recap. But before I continue with that, what were my overall thoughts on the episode? Definitely this was a pretty cool idea to kind of like, and I kind of, for me personally, I would have liked to see this episode a little bit later on, but it kind of does make sense for the context of what's going on currently in the show, where most of this episode was seeing what, let's say hypothetically, Nancy Drew never even existed as a show. So, as many of you know, when it comes to TV shows, and drama specifically, they tend to like make the characters' lives more problematic for the entertainment of our viewership. So, in this matter, I pretty much call this Nancy Drew if Nancy Drew wasn't a show. Pretty much. What would have been her perfect life, had her mom stayed alive, had she gone to college, had she not really had negative impacts on the friends she's made with the Drew crew so far, and all that sort. And I feel like this episode definitely succeeded in that, as well as give us a little bit of current what else is going on in Nancy's mind, obviously with Nick, and everything else with her dad and stuff, kind of giving a different context to her current relationship statuses with all those people in the real world. And it definitely kind of gives Nancy a little bit more insight on what she should do personally with those people in the real world. But honestly, before I continue on, I really enjoyed this episode. Pretty good follow-up to last week's episode. And yeah, let's get down to it. So where did we begin? I believe we began in Fantasy World, where I think Nancy sees her mom again. And here's something that apparently I just found out recently that I did not figure out in time for the pilot. So there was another Nancy Drew show, I believe back in the 80s. I want to say that. I think it was the 80s. And I think there was a crossover show between another mystery solving team. And the actress who played Nancy Drew on that show came back for this show. But I initially thought that, usually when it comes to like legacy characters, when it comes to people who had played the character before in terms of the overall franchise, and when it comes to the new show, especially on the CW, they tend to invite them back to the new show to kind of pass on the baton. And for me, I don't know why, I always assumed Nancy's mom was the original Nancy Drew's mom. No, hold on, I said that wrong. I thought Nancy Drew's mom was the Nancy Drew from the 80s until I realized she looks really young for someone who came from the 80s who was supposed to be playing a teenager as a young adult. Until I realized, no, she played the medium in the second episode. Was it the first episode? She appeared in the beginning of the series. That's all I'm trying to say. So with that being in my mind, it's like, okay, so that kind of made sense. So I was pointing that out because I don't think I was ever going to bring that up again for the rest of the season. But back to it. So we see Nancy kind of having this perfect family breakfast. Seeing more aspects of like what the perfect life would have been had. Nancy's mom not died, had things not happen with everything that's currently going on in the show, and Nancy's dad, Mr. Drew, or at least perfect Mr. Drew, whatever I'm going to call him. He tells Nancy, "Hey, listen, you're back in town for a couple days. Can you help me out with this case or this client of sort, Nick Nederson?" And I'm like, Ned Nicholson. So I'm like, who's Ned Nicholson? And I completely forgot that Nick's name is not really Nick. It's Ned Nickerson, but people just call him Nick. So it's like, again, remember, I forget things from the pilot at the beginning of the show. I forget. So she goes to meet him because apparently in this reality I'm assuming he didn't get acquitted on the murder charges. I'm assuming he became a professional football player. So he's making some pretty good amount of cash, and he's buying a house in Horseshoe Bay. And while we don't so before that we go to the Claw and we get a different interpretation of what's going on. The Claw's booming in business. George is wearing more makeup, I assume. I mean, I can tell like there's a difference between George in real life and George in perfect life. I definitely know there's a bit of a makeup difference. Bess is more classy, but still with the British accent. Ace is still Ace. I'm pretty happy that Ace is still the same Ace in either timeline. But either way, Nancy goes to meet Nick. Supposedly, Nick and George in this timeline already has been dating, or they had a date and didn't really work out. So, kind of a little awkwardness there. Again, kind of connecting back to the current reality where it's like, yeah, that's where we get the perfect segue to what's going on in the real world, where Nick and George are being evacuated from the building after the events of the last episode. They try to get in since... Sorry, my throat's a little dry, but I'm going to power through it. God, what's wrong with my freaking throat? Anyway, they try to go back in, but they're not being let in. They meet Sal, and ironically, I forgot to make this connection last week, or I probably didn't make this connection last week. I have a George. Well, you all know George. He's my usual co-o. Haven't seen him for a while on the channel. I found it ironic that there was a character named George on the show I'm reviewing, and now there's a Sal, which I'm assuming it was just a 2-episode gig, so I don't expect to see him again next week. But it's ironic because I have a Sal in my life, which hopefully there's going to be a podcast with him again coming up shortly. So it's kind of ironic. I'm getting characters like named after my friends. So is there an Alan in the future? Is there a Michael in the future? Who knows? But they're kind of formulating a plan, and this is where I believe, so Sal kind of recasts what happened with the hauntings before the Drew crew showed up. And he said, like, well, there was this priest that showed up with this like very powerful holy water, and supposedly that kind of subsidized things for a while before things happened recently again when the Drew crew showed up. So Ace and Bess finally teaming up again. They go find the priest. Very creepy cameo. They give him the holy water, and they're all heading off to go find Nancy. Meanwhile, in perfect reality land, Nancy and Nick go to this Nick's new house. Kind of in shambles a little bit. Nick is assuming that it's haunted. It's something. He keeps hearing noise. Although Nancy points out that it's just the old metal clanging from the structure of the house. It is pretty old. Horseshoe Bay is a pretty old town. They head over to the attic, which I assume originally, like, for a good minute, I thought is this Nancy's original house? But it's like, no, it's just another thing that we'll get to later in the episode. They find this door that is the same, that identical door that real life Nancy, well, technically this is still real. I'm so confused with the whole world reality. Nancy, this is the same door Nancy went through in the last episode to get through the room where we found the key before she got trapped in there and the cockroaches swarmed her. So it's the same door, it's locked. There's nothing happening. Nick doesn't have the key, and they decide, okay, who sold you the house? And none other than Ryan Hudson sold them the house. Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, we got all these people. Let's give them something new. Let's give them some new energy to work with. And I believe we go to the police station next. I think there was another scene here, but whatever. We go to the police station. Turns out Ryan is a very successful, happy, pretty sure not drug addicted person. And Tiffany's still alive, but we don't get to see her in this episode. Ryan's more of a I forgot what the term is. Like, he kind of acted like he's a leader, but I'm not sure what his title was. But he has like a foundation or a house or some sort of program with Tiffany to help out people. So he's doing either way. This Ryan is a much better Ryan. He's much more cleaner. He's much more nicer. He's not as shady, and they're playing a little coy with the whole like. Apparently, Nancy solved the case for Ryan a few years ago, and so Nancy's trying to call in on that. Although Ryan is very vague and cryptic and gives her clues, which doesn't really help, I guess. But I think they did. I don't know what they deduced from here, but no. Well, anyway, so they're leaving, and I forgot where the connection Fred was, but I think they were. I think they were going to regroup at the Claw to try and get to get a very similar Drew crew to brainstorm this cryptic riddle Ryan gave them before they leave. Nancy sees something wrong with a window. She goes towards it. Some mysterious hands pop out, and then she backs up, kind of getting scared. And there's this weird symbol on the ground, which we kind of saw earlier in the attic, but now I remember I skipped that one. So anyway, the Drew crew back into actual reality. They swarm the sanctum, or the hospital. I forgot the term of it. They head to the back. They open the door. They find Nancy comatose, nearly dying. She's pale as hell. They're trying to figure out how do we save her. They're trying not to do any medical needs because they assume since the supernatural is involved in this case, I don't think the medical aspect's not going to really help them that much. So they're just trying to hold on, trying to figure out what to do. And ironically, at the same time, turns out whenever they communicate to her, they send her letters into the fantasy world, but she doesn't notice it yet. And at the Drew crew meeting in the perfect fantasy world, fantasy world, they're all trying to figure this out. But again, there's no real dynamic here. They're all friends, but they haven't really have a dynamic yet in terms of the mystery solving thing since Nancy's back in town. So I don't think they have that dynamic anymore, or this group doesn't have it. So they don't really figure it out right away until Nancy figures out these all relate to something you would find in a cemetery on gravestones. But instead of immediately going to the cemetery, we cut back to the Drew house where I'm assuming Nancy took a shower and then, is getting ready to go meet up with Nick at the cemetery and the rest of the group. She runs into her mom. Her mom is having this is a very deja vu moment where apparently Nancy's mom might get the cancer that killed her in the original time, in the main reality. But however, that phone call is the very opposite where it turns out it's nothing. She's fine. So again, another example, why would Nancy leave this perfect life? She has her mom. Her family's still there. She's in college. Everything's fine. Why would she leave? But anyway, the Drew parents are heading off. Nick shows up in the nick of time. And have a brief exchange. It starts raining. Nancy and Nick are debating if they should still go to the cemetery. Nancy tells Nick more about what happened between them in the actual reality, although Nick is playing very, I guess it's again another parallel to, this is what real Nick would be seeing right now, have the mysteries not taken over the aspect of the relationship. He ended up they ended up having sex. I'm not surprised. So, does that mean in current scenario, Nancy, does she want to be back with Nick, or does she want to hook up with Owen? We don't know. We still don't know. This is the closest thing we'll have to the talk in a while, but it definitely does open up the possibility that Nancy might explore reopening her relationship with Nick in the near future. But anyway, so they finish having sex back in the reality world, back in real reality. Nick, George, and Sarah are off to go find something I don't know, an adrenaline boost to kind of give Nancy a little bit more time before she dies. Ace and Bess have figured out that Nancy is listening in on their conversation, but not in the way they expected. Because as soon as Nancy and Nick wake up from they're passing out from sex, she sees all the letters. She sees them and realizes they're trying to communicate with her, and they really need to go to the cemetery right now. They head out to the cemetery. The gravestone things don't really go anywhere. Then they find this very oddly shaped tree. They go to it and they find the key, but the hands of death show up again and they try to take Nancy away. And they manage to get her away. Those hands are really freaking creepy. They have the key. So they head back to Nick's house. They open the door. Turns out it was nothing. So this fake Drew crew, they're kind of happy that, you get to stay here in your perfect reality. But it's Nancy knows this is not her perfect reality. Plus, she's died, so she really can't stay here forever. And she goes back home, kind of defeated, what else is there to do? She's looking through the letters that the real Drew Crew sent her, trying to find maybe there's an answer here, something I can use, and nothing really turns out. She has a talk with her mom, and then she remembers something that I think her dad told her in the first half of the season, where before Nancy's, or at some point in Nancy's life, she asked her mom, "What happens after you die?" And that sort of connects to Nancy. That sort of gives her a new clue. She heads upstairs. She finds the blue letter that her mom left her before she passed, or I think at some point in the near, probably beforehand. I'm forgetting already. Turns out there's a clue in there about the sky, but it's cloudy until she realizes what she said earlier in this episode, that her room has little art representing stars there. So she finds the stars that she's looking for, leads her to her closet door. Yep, everyone, that's how it is when you're a television show. You're working on a budget. No, I'm not making any complaints. I'm just saying this was definitely TV show budget logic here. But before she goes for the door, Nancy's mom shows up. And I initially thought that this was going to be a scene where the ghost or the spirit of this house is trying to now give one final obstacle to kind of push Nancy away from going to the door. But it's not like that. It actually is a moment of Nancy having a real final conversation with her mom. Because remember back when her mom originally died, when we saw it in the flashbacks, Nancy did not, back in the mid-season finale, I believe, where Nancy was going to go to this dance instead of being with her mom, even though her parents said, "No, go. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You're never going to have this again. Just go have fun." And then when she comes back, it's too late, and Nancy's mom's already passed. So she never really got to have that final conversation with her. So this definitely felt like it. And she kind of has sort of this closure with her mom in a way. She goes through the door. She comes back. The whole Drew Crew escape before the house begins to try and kill them. And everything's fine. Everything's fine. I believe they regroup back on the claw, kind of having a mild celebration. They have the key card, but they don't really know where it goes. Then Nick and Nancy have another one-on-one, what was going on. Nancy tells him that she doesn't tell him everything, but she only tells him hey, we solved the mystery together. You and me, we teamed up. And also, I apologize if the lighting is horrible. It's starting to go down here, so I apologize if. Actually, let me start this. I think it'll be better, a little bit better. Anyway, so where was I from there? Yeah, but before they were able to continue that conversation, George pulls Nick away. Jesus Christ, I keep confusing his real name with his nickname. But George and Nick are off having a conversation about the business, but it could also be and I also saw in a shot where we see George looking at Nick and Nancy, definitely hinting that she does have feelings for Nick, or at least she feels jealous about the whole thing. So I think it was also another reason to pull him away, to kind of no, come to me, not her. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. Nancy heads back home, gets caught up that her dad has gotten approved for house arrest to kind of protect his life from the Hudsons. And they have another conversation about, I don't believe they talk about what had recently happened, but I think she was bringing up the fact that things have to change, things have to be different, and she brings up the historic society that Perfect Mr. Drew was going through when she was there, and she gets the hint well, why don't I go there? This looks all familiar. This is all connected somehow. She heads over there. She finds the keeper. I forgot her title name, but they had this connection back when she was a kid, and turns out that the key card does not belong to Lucy or her mom. It belongs to Tiffany. So she opens up this very fancy-looking safe room, one of the safes, pulls it out to reveal a flash drive, or at least a memory card. She puts it on her laptop, explains to Nancy that this was dropped off 3 days before she died. It's a little bit creepy. We see the footage. Tiffany's kind of admitting that she kind of stumbled onto something, and relating to Lucy. Now she's getting haunted by it. She doesn't know what's happening. She feels like she's being watched. And then at the end of this video, she sees that dead Lucy is behind her, and is doing a very ominous ghost position, is about to pounce her, or at least that's what I assume she's pouncing her. Video ends. Nancy asks, "What did Tiffany find out?" She's like, "She wouldn't tell me." This literally happened 3 days before she died when we began with the pilot, and I think, and on a very more ominous note, it's something is not supposed. She found out something she wasn't supposed to figure out that led to her death, and that kind of ends off the the episode. I think there was another line there, but again, I forgot that could have mattered this episode, so I'm sorry. And that was it for this episode. I really this episode again. It was a very fun one. Very, very fun peek to see what life could have been like in a perfect setting. Definitely brings some new meaning to where we're at with the current relationships, with the current standings overall in the show. Very much enjoy that. I like Sal's character. Sal was texting me while I was watching the episode, and he was kind of like laughing a bit, like, "Oh, is he a loony?" Like, yeah, he's pretty much a loony. So that was pretty fun. That was a pretty funny moment. Will Sal return? I don't know. Maybe we will. Anyway, I believe that's all I had to say. Overall, 2 thumbs up. So again, remember, Nancy Drew is on break until February 26th. So we have no new episode next week or the week after that. We'll be back on the 26th. So gives me a couple of Wednesdays to relax, but can't really relax because Katie Clean just started up our brand new What's on the Tube review sub-series. We'll be going live next time. But if you run away, this was What's on the Tube from ActionX. If you want to know what's coming up overall on What's on the Tube, next time, which I just recently said this 5 seconds ago, but I'll repeat myself again. Next time, we're doing a special one-off episode where we are reviewing a Riverdale episode, but I'm not going to start reviewing the Riverdale show. I'm not. It's not happening. But anyway, it's a one-off because it's a Katie Clean crossover, so I haven't, now here's the thing. At the time of this recording, I haven't seen that episode yet. I'm going in fresh because I didn't want to butcher anything because this is the segue to a whole new show. I want to start that out off proper, so that's why I haven't seen it yet. But anyway, I'll be reviewing either parts of the episode, maybe the whole episode. Maybe I'll give my thoughts on my current standings with Season 4. But it's just a one-off. I'm not reviewing the whole Season 4 of Riverdale. That's not on the cards right now. But anyway, once that's over, then next time after that, we will start off the Katie Clean episode reviews. This with the series premiere. Again, another thing I haven't seen. I'm very excited to see it. But first I gotta do the Riverdale episode, then Katie Clean, and yeah, then that will be it for a while for What's on the Tube. Because yeah, so but beyond that, I can't announce the next thing yet. I can't. I don't feel confident enough to announce it yet. But if anything, I'll announce it at the end of the Katie Clean episode review if I'm gonna do it. But either way, after that, kind of in a little bit of a break, considering that Katie Clean is the only real show going on after that, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, but if you only care about Nancy Drew episode review, I'll be back on the 27th with the next episode review. Hopefully on its regularly scheduled time on Thursday. Hopefully. And with that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please like, favorite, share this video if you want to. Follow us on all the social media feeds, including our new Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ActionXGames. Currently, we are doing platinum maxing for Spyro Reignited Trilogy. I think I got the cover here. Yeah, I can't reach for it. My legs are tired. I really liked it today. But anyway, see you guys next time. For the Drew crew, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. If you're What's on the Tube, I think I got a text. But see you guys. Peace out.